Hi, sir. My name is Chivita. My metric number is B0323100009. So today I'm going to explain the lab activity. And the first one is the login form, where let me explain the code first. For the activity login binding is initialized as we can see here. It is initialized to set up the layout and connect with the views. For example, like buttons and also the text fields. And for the login button handler, which is the sign in, when the login button is clicked, uh, the code validates that whether the username and password fields are empty using the validate fields method. If both fields are valid, the code will pass to the next screen, which is the register activity via an intent. The username and passwords are passed as trust in the intent. And for the validation, the validate fields method ensures that both the username and passwords are not empty. If either one of the field is empty, an error message will pop up in the field. And as we can see here, there is a hamburger menu in the top left. And when we click it, there is a drawer layout. So inside the onCreate method, the navigation method is called, which likely it sets up the items in the navigation drawer. And that's all for the login part. And let me show the demo part. Okay, so once the user already log in, it will intend to the register part. Let me continue with the code again. And once the user already log in, it will move to the register form, which we can call as an intent. The username and password are passed from the login screen. It is retrieved using the get intent method, and these values are automatically populated in the name and password field, as we can see over here. And for the date picker dialog, the DOB field is clickable, and when it is tapped, it opens a date picker dialog. And when user selects a date, the app will calculate their age based on the selected date, and it will show their age beside the date of birth in a bracket form. You are X age. And for the gender selection, there is a two checkbox where user can choose either male or female. And once the user already fill up all the fields, user have to click the button for save their details. And there is a validate field for the register part, where it will call to ensure that all the fields are filled up correctly. If the registration is successful, there is a toast message where registration is successful, and we can know that the registration is already saved. Okay, so this is where I have mentioned just now. There is a toast message where registration is successful. So let me show the demo right now. So as we can see here, once the user already choose the date of birth, the app already calculates the age based on the date chosen. And once the gender uh, click, where the user can choose either male or female. Once we click the sign up, and those message will pop up as registration successful. So let's move to the expenses part. Okay. The class expense is annotated with an entity indicating that it represents a table in the database. where it has some several fields, which is ID, expenses name, expenses date, expenses value, expenses total, and also expenses quantity. So there is a database table called TBL expense, and there is a constructor for all of these expenses name, date, value, quantity, and also total. And there is a get method for each of the field as we can see here. So uh, once the expense class is represent a record in the table expenses, um, once once the prime once the primary key is auto generated, and it will ensure that each expenses has a unique identifier, and it will save into the database where into the table expense. So let me show the demo. So once the quantity is chosen, the app will calculate the total price according to the quantity once the button is clicked. I can't click the camera right now because I'm using the Google Meet. So when we click the camera button, it will pop up a camera where we can take a picture. So once the expenses is saved, we can see that the details I have inserted at up here is displayed over here too. And let's move to the next part, which is for the student form. Okay, let me explain the code again. And okay, first there is a name field, student number, email, and also birth date, and also a radio button, and to choose the state origin. Okay. Okay, first one, the date picker for the birth date. Um, this is clickable for the student where when it click, it opens a date picker dialog as just now. And the selected date is formatted as year, month, and date, which will display in the birth date field. And for the recycler view setup, it is initialized to display the list of students. And to add student to the REST API, it is provided for adding a student. When it is clicked, FN add to REST method is called, which retrieves the student's information form in the input fields name, student number, email, birth date, and also the state. And there is a validate method where it ensures all the fields are filled in. It also checks if the email address is valid using the email address pattern. Let me show the REST API part first. This one. This is where I mentioned that it will save to the add student to REST API. So for the next one, uh, a volley is used for making the network request. A string request is sent to the server with the student's data in the parameter. And the server responds with a JSON object, and the result is displayed in a toast. An error message will request, which is shown in the toast. And for the action bar navigation, and the options item selected method handles the navigation drawer toggle when the user clicks on the action bar icon. And for the form, it includes the student's full name, student number, email, and also birthday, and also gender, and the state. This form allows user to enter and submit this data when this is sent to the server. So let's move to the next part, which is get image, where it will show like this. Okay. Um, Let me explain the code again. An executor, which is the single thread executor, this one, it is for initialize the background task, such as loading an image from an URL from the Google. And once the image is uploaded, the material button is used to trigger an image and upload it in the dialog when it is clicked. And when the upload button is clicked, an alert dialog appears with option to upload an image either by URL or take a picture with a camera or choose an image from the gallery. So let me show the demo. So I took a URL from Google, and once I click, it will pop up the image which I took from the Google. And once I upload so once the URL is clicked, the image is pop up as this one. So let's move to the second one, which is the search student, where it will pop up a form like this one. So let me explain the code again. So when the search button is clicked, the FN search method, which is this one, the FN search method is triggered if it first checks if the student ID is entered. If not, it will shows a toast message by prompting the user to enter the student ID first before search. And then it creates a volley request to fetch the student's data from a REST API. And a post request is made to a server, which is this line, and it will pass the student ID as a parameter. For handling API response, upon receiving the response, the method of pass the JSON response, it will expected to a JSON array containing the student's details. And if no results are found based on the student ID, it shows a close message indicating that there is no student in that student ID. If the student is found, the detail are extracted from the JSON object and displayed in the corresponding text views. And for the error handling, if there is a error in the response, the network issues or JSON passing issues, a toast message will display to inform the user. So let me show the demo. So we can see here that once I click the metric number, it will retrieve the data of the student ID based on their name, number, gender, and also origin. So for the last part, where let me show which area I used REST API. So the first one, student form, uh, this line. This activity sends a post request to the REST API to this line to add a new student. And the data such as the student name, student number, gender, DOB, and the state is sent in the request body, and the server responds with a message that it is displayed in the toast. And we can we can see the REST API code over here. And for the second form where I use the REST API, which is the search student activity, this slide. So for this one, this activity sends a post request to the same REST API to search for a student by their student ID. The student number, which is the student ID, is sent by as the parameter, and the API will returns the student details back, which is the student name, student gender, student number, and also the student's state, as we can see over here. And I think that's all from me. Thank you.